Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Today, we'll be speaking about this very important topic, the blind spots in your ERP and what they're costing you. First, just introduction to myself. My name is Bill Bither. I am the co-founder and CEO of MachineMetrics. And joining me today is Bill Bither. He's the CEO of Pindell Global Precision. And just a quick intro to Bill. He's a former Navy SEAL officer, a GE Sigma black belt, and he bought Pindell back over 10 years ago as a machine shop that had started back in 1947. Bought that in 2012. So excited about the presentation we have for you today. It's always good to have a customer join us. But just a few housekeeping items. So if you want to add any questions, you can just click chat and ask questions, and that will be available for us to see. And we will have Q&A at the end, and we'll be sharing this recording and with other resources along with that. So without further ado, let's get started. This topic really is around is really around how we created MachineMetrics and the fact that manufacturers runs two sets of books. They have the plan, like what the ERP is designed to really set that plan and schedule for what needs to be produced on the manufacturing floor. Then you have the reality, what really occurs once that work hits the floor. MachineMetrics is really about closing that execution gap. That's what we call that gap between plan and reality. And we really see so many not failures, but so many disturbances that can occur in manufacturing that will set you off the plan. I mean, if you have, for example, a machine that breaks down unexpectedly or a setup that overruns, that can really change when you expect work to be delivered to the customer. This is it's not a people problem. It's really about the process. It's really about understanding what not only just what needs to happen, but trying to understand how to prevent these from happening to begin with. And that's really what we're going to be talking about today. So really, what just a introduction to MachineMetrics for those that don't know MachineMetrics. We are a manufacturing operations platform. We really started as machine monitoring, and we've moved in these last couple of years to a full ops platform that we'll be talking about today. And the first aspect of MachineMetrics is our connect layer, where we connect to every machine in your shop floor, really focused in discrete manufacturing industries. So whether it's a CNC machine or a plastic injection molder or grinding equipment, it could be new or old. We have connectors for all of that type of equipment. And but we also connect to your ERP system. So we have, especially in the last couple of years, we have built out well over a dozen ERP systems that we connect to very deeply, bidirectionally, and that is part of our connectivity layer. Because we're pulling the ERP data, which is the plan, and the machine data, the reality, we have that visibility, and we can help our customers, frontline workers, execute their work. So that's really the MES layer. That's where we help our customers process their labor, so that goes back to their ERP. We can help guide them in terms of what they need to do to keep their machines running, like changing tools in the right time, making sure they can run unattended. We can really help with scheduling to dispatch work to the right machine. An ERP is good at really understanding the plan and like when jobs should be sequenced and what types of machines they should run on. But then once it hits the floor, things change, and that real-time data is what really helps our customers execute. And then with that data, we have really deep analytics to help optimize. These are really the prescriptions, but it's also the reporting, both executive reporting, for supervisors, understand OEE, downtime. We have a full history in terms of cycle times, and we can baseline that over time. So you would know when your cycle time deviates from your standard or from history, and that really helps our customers run their equipment and run their people in an optimal way. And then finally, our build layer is actually our newest layer. We're launching this officially at IMTS called Carbide, where you can extend that out-of-the-box capabilities with our APIs, with our MCP, with our data models, that you can fill in these gaps that you might have that allow you to build exactly what you need for your business, so that you're not stuck with just one point solution. You can build those pieces that are very unique to you, and we'll touch on that as well. So with that, that's a little bit about MachineMetrics. I guess I'll also say, we've been around for about 10 years, doing this for a while, and Bill Bither out of Pindell has been one of our early customers. They've been with us for a while, and but I'd like to give him a few minutes to introduce himself. But before we do that, we do have a poll. This is about these cost centers that really can really drive your business, and there's metrics associated with those. And I want you to look at these cost centers. And let us know, like, which of these really resonate with you, in that you trust them the least, that you don't have the data to really support. So you have like labor, so your labor costs and overtime, your scheduling, on-time delivery, your work in process, your capital equipment purchases, like, are you using that effectively? Your scrap and the cost of your parts and escapes, what you're spending on consumables, that would be another area. Outsourcing, the cost of outsourcing, and also maintenance of your equipment. So if you could spend just a minute while I have Bill talk about Pindell, fill out that survey, and then we'll review the results in a little bit to see where you think there's the most room here. So with that, I'd like Bill Bither to tell us a little bit about how he started Pindell, and as a Navy SEAL officer buying a machine shop. How did that happen? That's sort of it's like an interesting combination that's obviously working.
Well, Bill, thanks so much for having me on this webinar, and it has been great to be a partner of yours since 2018. So at a high level, my journey, as you mentioned, I was about 9 years as an officer in the Navy SEAL team. Love that leadership side of life, intense mission focus, and really appreciated that opportunity. I left active duty in 1999. Did a little more school, and then it was GE Healthcare that brought me to Wisconsin. I was a Six Sigma black belt for 3 years. Left there to help run a couple of private equity-backed companies, and all of it led to a desire to go off and buy and grow companies of my own. Did a 2-year acquisition search, all in the Milwaukee area. Looked at about 140 companies, 30 in detail. And one of my key criteria was I wanted manufacturing, I wanted a physical part, I wanted higher unit volume to leverage the Six Sigma background. Long story short, was introduced to Pindell Global Precision, at that time known as AS Pindell, founded in 1947. Contract machining company of precision machine parts, 2 technologies, cam-operated multi-spindle screw machines, and then CNC. It was founded in 47, and I acquired it in 2012. So it's been a 14-year journey, and it's been the full spectrum, from having very little data but being a data guy to where we are today, which is having a lot of data that fortunately is in the form of intelligence and moving towards wisdom. And so it's been a great journey. As I said, we've partnered with MachineMetrics since 2018, and have really valued that journey. And that's the one of our two plants in the photo behind me, and members of my leadership team.
Right. Well, I guess so. The next question I have here, since we are talking about these 8 cost centers, is as you look through these here, since you don't need to take the poll, Bill, you can actually tell us live.
Yep.
What are some, like, let's start at when you bought Pindell to begin with. Where did you see some of the biggest issues after the acquisition? I mean, you went through due diligence, I imagine. So, like, what did you actually find?
Well, honestly, once you sort of climb into it and start operating the business, the biggest challenges were a tremendous amount of WIP inventory, because the production was designed to be multiple operations. So you had huge initial production that was put on the shelf for secondary, tertiary ops, all of that. So the WIP inventory, cost of quality, we coming into it, we had issues with a higher DPM that we wanted, a lot of high cost of quality, challenges there, and just sort of understanding the business. Our philosophy was, from that point, it was invest in the equipment, that latest CNC equipment lets you do parts complete. It's a tremendous amount of automation. We trained the team to master that automation, and that allowed us to make parts in one operation. So we directly attacked that high WIP inventory bucket and moved on to other cost centers.
Great. And then, so that was like when you initially started running Pindell.
Yep.
So you've been a customer with MachineMetrics for some time now. That was a few years after. Can you tell us just in terms of in the last, like, I guess say in the last 5 years, what are some of the cost centers that you've really focused on, or that you feel like you haven't had the best visibility into, and what have you done there?
Well, the earliest ones that MachineMetrics allowed us to tackle in those early years was the on-time delivery and the labor and overtime. So having the connections into the machines, having that visibility at the leadership level, across the supervisors, down to the individual machines was essential to tackling that on-time delivery, and efforts around the cost of poor quality. We were able to get the DPM in those years way down, to sort of single digits, and for most customers actually zero. But it was the early on-time delivery and the labor and overtime. And where we are now is around that CapEx utilization. MachineMetrics was incredibly insightful for us. You think your utilization, without the data, is somewhere around 60-65%, but the data indicates that it is closer to 30-35%. And the data was very informative about how to improve operations and increase that utilization and allow us to digest more customers, more part numbers. And we're still on that journey. We've got $500,000 pieces of equipment all across the shop, and you want to be using those all the time. And the data from MachineMetrics, now integrated with the ERP system, the MES platform, has been absolutely invaluable in increasing that utilization, and with that, the profit, as well as the rewards to the team members.
Yeah, and we're going to touch on that in a bit, because you're so excited to integrate with your ERP that you use, ProShop, that you went and built your own integration before we had ours available. So we'll touch on what that meant to you and where we've taken it from there. But I think from what you're saying right now, it sounds like you're really focused on the machine uptime, running unattended, and what about in terms of the operators? Or how many machines does each operator attend to? And so you speak to both of those, like how much unattended time are you running, and what's your efficiency, like operator per machine?
Yeah, so we're running 7 days a week. So we have first shift 410s, second shift 410s, and then we run 312s Friday through Sunday. And for a large number of our machines, we're running lights out in all the gap hours, that all the unmanned. So during the man shift, we in the early days were 2 machines to a person, and we've been able to grow that to 3, in some cases 4 per person, which has been a terrific gain there. And that journey is all about how do we design a path so the machinist is running, say, 4 machines, but the mental load of just running 2. So it's about looking at their whole process, using data in a very surgical fashion to assist them in creating more value, and in turn capturing more value.
Okay, great. And then what about so on your consumables? I know when it comes to like tool costing, some of our customers, it's a big deal if you're machining hard metals, for example. But on the other side, we're also looking at optimizing when tools are being changed, because then you can help actually run your machines longer, through the night. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works with you? I mean, are you I know you're running quite a bit unattended now.
Yep.
Are you looking at like those tool changes as a part of how you achieve that?
Yeah, that's critical, because what you don't want is to have a tool change come up during especially early on into a lights out period, and it stops the machine. So we're looking at using MachineMetrics tool change forecast screens to inform the supervisors, inform the machinists how much more life is on the tools, and to, in a predictive fashion, get ahead of those tool changes. As you think about that overall consumable spend, it's not so much reducing that, but what can the right investments in that consumable spend, and especially the data going into it, do to attack that other cost bucket of the CapEx utilization, because that is really the focus.
And that's and then being here, I've been here for a few days this week. It was clear that you've made a lot of progress in in running these machines 24/7. But there's as always, there's more work to do, right? So I think in just moving to actually before we move on to the next, can we show the result of the poll? I'm curious what we're seeing in terms of so late. Okay, what I'm trying to make this a little bigger so I can see
labor and uptime 50.
So labor and uptime is 50, and so no, I guess that's the big one. Okay, well, that sort of matches what you were talking about, Bill. So I think this should align. Okay, great.
Yep.
Well, yeah. So let's kind of like talk a little bit about a little bit more detail about some of the things that we've seen. One of the aspects of MachineMetrics that pretty much universally our customers are benefiting from is really understanding your cycle time compared to the standard. And when you connect to the ERP, you can really compare to what your standard is and what you're quoting. And so the traditional way of using stopwatches, or trying to look at what the machine is telling you, or what the cam is telling you, what those cycle times are, that's not always reality. And looking at the drifts over time can really help you figure out if you're improving or adding time to your process. So knowing that cycle time kind of hits a lot of these cost centers. So but really it helps your quoting, helps your scheduling, so what how long your job will take. It's going to help extend your capacity and kind of make those make versus buy decisions. Like if somebody third party who can make that part faster, maybe you do outsource. So that is a really important piece of data that we certainly capture. I know that there's been some I think, some improvement in some of your cycle times over the years that will really hit these cost centers, Bill. Is there can you think of like an example of where, like, how you use MachineMetrics to really track your cycle times and I guess update your standards?
Well, I mean, cycle time is an absolutely key metric coming out of MachineMetrics. It's what comparing that to what the standard had been, what the quoted had been. You see that graphically displayed on every tablet, on 85-inch TV screens across the shop. Red, orange, green. Where does that machine stand in terms of its standard? And then that data coming from MachineMetrics, as far as the actual cycle time and how that's improving over time, directly gets fed back into resetting that standard. And we've got a really strong continuous improvement culture. I have a director of continuous improvement. I have 2 certified Six Sigma black belts, 5 green belts, and you got to be continually updating your standard to reflect what's been improved. And because that sets the new benchmark, then that might turn what had been a green display orange more frequently than you like. And then that's your opportunity to dive into that to see why is that machine not hitting what should be the standard. So that feedback loop is really essential. And MachineMetrics makes it super easy to come by, to trend over time, to gather that historical intelligence.
Excellent. Cool. Well, thank you for that. I think there's another area that I know that you had a big execution gap that I know that was covered, which was I think this was like in the last 18 months, where I know you had your machine. I said your machine is ready, but first article was not. I think you had some downtime related to that. Can you speak to us about what transpired there? Like what the challenge was and how you solved it?
Yeah. So we're certified to AS 9100 and hold ourselves to that very, very high standard. And so first article inspection is critical for us to beginning the production machining process following setup. And our prior process had been a very manual, put some paperwork on a shelf, hope the quality technician sees it in time, comes out and does that first article inspection for the production run. And what MachineMetrics worked with us on innovating, adding some buttons to the tablets so that when that setup is complete, a simple button press on one of the MachineMetrics tablets then sends a message into quality, puts that up on a TV monitor there, displaying that a certain job is ready for first article inspection. So really a dramatic decrease in that first article time and increase in the utilization simply by leveraging that data and displaying it more optimally.
And it's such a simple workflow, but you need that data, to know, when that part is ready for first piece inspection and when it's completed. And, that's sort of part of the process and part of the stream of MachineMetrics and why it makes the, that execution layer work.
Yep.
Okay. Well, so this next thing, so I think this is going to be an interesting topic here because we discussed it briefly where you have ProShop as your ERP system. This is managing your work orders, sales orders. It's setting that plan, right? And then MachineMetrics, like we talked about, is what's monitoring all the machines and helping your workers execute that plan. And then you have MaintainX. Actually, you let me know where if a machine is broke, MaintainX manages your work orders to help bring them back up to speed. So all of this, at least initially, were separate systems, right? So they weren't connected. We did not have a ProShop integration until recently, right? So tell us a bit about what you did here. How did you make this work for you? Given that we did not have the integration of ProShop. The integration of MaintainX is a nice tight integration that triggers work orders based on machine work, but it's not actually pulling the worker information back in, so that there's some data there that you needed. What did you do here to make this all work for you?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, Bill, I mean, these are all we're a big believer in these systems, but right out of the box, they're all siloed, and the data passing between them is more about a human communication loop. So with this age of AI and LLMs that we've seen the past couple of years, each of these systems had APIs that we used. We used Claude to be looking into the data there, and trying to do some of that gap filling ourselves. So using MachineMetrics and seeing what what machine failure, machine alarm might have halted production. Claude would allow us to look at what was the underlying fault code on that. Then we can look across other machines. Who else has seen that fault code? And go in the API for MaintainX and have that generate a work order that goes to the maintenance team. And that was all a little while back. And it's due to your integrations and due to Max AI. That's a lot of that effort has come, put us right into MachineMetrics, and those integrations have proved very valuable.
Yeah, and that's, I think, further to the point, I was very impressed that you had used Claude Code to build as much of an integration as you could with APIs that were available. So I know in the last, we gave you access to our MCP, and for those that don't know, like an MCP is a way that you can communicate with agents, like using Claude Code and using other LLMs. The MCP is like an enhanced API that is designed for agents. So we gave you access to that recently. Did that tell us about that? Did that, because you started with the APIs, you went to the MCP, and then the next slide is about how we even gone further. But tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a few of us diving into that, and then just a lot of fun to use. I mean, you can basically ask it, what's the story, of a prior 12, 24 hours across all your machines, where are things not hitting standard? What are some root causes? Where it turns into a maintenance issue. Let's issue maintenance work orders, and just powerful intelligence, coming from that MCP.
So, yeah, because I mean, the MCP will give you a lot more than just APIs.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the other question is, okay, so did you have any differences between like what was in ProShop, what was in MachineMetrics in terms of like what it was reporting? Did you see that they kind of all aligned? I guess where I'm getting at is there, how did you, like, where's your trust lie in this data for each of these, given that ProShop MaintainX is manually entered, right? I mean, MachineMetrics is mostly coming from the machine.
Right. Well, we especially over the last 9-10 months that we've moved in this sort of higher volume production. Practices that worked in the past around machinist part counting, manually entering them into ProShop, all of that, while they might have worked in the past, we were finding all sorts of data disintegrity issues on what was flowing downstream from the actual production, into ProShop. And that's when we worked with you to trigger the an automatic communication between what MachineMetrics is recording for production and automatically passing that into ProShop.
And I think that kind of leads us to sort of this next here, which is the ERP implementation, where we have now a very deep connector with ProShop. It's bidirectional, and we've just been rolling it out this week, right? So what this does is that allows the machine operators to submit labor back into MachineMetrics, but it's using that automated machine data when your job started, when it finished, the actual parts.
When
So
you clocked in,
it's
when
a
you clocked out. Yep.
exactly so it's a simple review of the data as opposed to having to go and count all the parts and figure things out and make some guesses, right? So it's the real data from the machine. Um, we just started this implementation, and this does open up other capabilities for scheduling, on-time delivery, so it's tied into the work orders tighter.
Mhm.
But I wanted to ask you, like, what have you found just in the first few days of this implementation? Do you have some like early findings that you've noticed, or anything that surprised you about it?
I mean, getting that streamlined automatic communication of the part counts is key. As part of the implementation, in all honesty, we work through a bunch of edge cases on different dynamics that can happen, and we work through them and resolve them, and they're in a really strong place at this point. But that was the journey, because then once you get those accurate part counts, that eliminates a whole lot of downstream double checking, manual counting, and just the oddities that can come with finger punch data. So we've completely eliminated that, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I think, and that's actually the thing from when we were talking about when you were trying to connect them together before with Cloud Code. I think you had some errors in the data and things weren't exactly 100% right. This integration essentially gives you that model, that accurate model of your operations and your factory floor, so that you can point an LLM, an AI at that and actually get correct answers, right? And you can dive in deeper.
And then, I mean, you combine accurate cycle time with accurate counting. The feedback loop there then becomes more accurate and predictive scheduling, because you know how long your job is going to take. And also, if there are jobs that have also been informed by accuracy in those ways coming up, you can better understand the implications for those jobs, and where you need to communicate to a customer, where you need to take other actions, which is great.
Yeah, and that actually leads us to kind of the next topic here. So we talked about scheduling, and we have out of the box capabilities. We call the dispatch schedule, and what it does is we know all the work orders that are on the machine, and we can pull from the ERP when you're scheduled to start on the various work orders next, and then you can then make those changes and then see when you expect all of your work to be delivered, and you can see how much work is scheduled for every machine. But you have a process that's just a little bit different, right? Mm-hmm. And you've been using it for a while. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about that process that you built, and then we'll kind of circle back to like what we're planning to do in the next few weeks?
Yep. Yeah. So going back 5, 6, 7 years, we created an Excel, not spreadsheet, more dashboard, across all our machines, that would talk about status of current job, status of upcoming jobs, what level of readiness is each one of those jobs, and how far along are you on the current job. And the challenge was it was on Excel online. It was an Excel spreadsheet. It wasn't hooked to any actual live data. So the data was very stale, and the actions you could take on that dashboard could be pretty limited, because it just was too challenging to keep that live. And that leads to, I think, some of the really neat innovations that we're working on with you that replicate that in the MachineMetrics world, but with live actionable data that's informed by accurate part counts, accurate cycle counts, and shop floor truth.
Yeah, and so what we found is that the out of the box, we're probably 80% of the way there for your scheduling, but there's some customizations that are required, where we're we'll be building these customizations on Carbide, and that's something that your team will have access to do. And in the past, that would have been like a big custom servers project. It would have cost X amount of dollars. With Carbide that we're unveiling in IMTS, you can take what we already have and extend it. You create your own data models, and you don't have to change your process. MachineMetrics will be configurable to what your process already is. It's been vetted and works, and that's I know that's we're all excited about that part of MachineMetrics that we're adding this year, and you definitely see more for any that are viewing this webinar. We'll be presenting this in a lot of detail at IMTS in just a few weeks. So great. Well, I think the next thing I really wanted to touch on is we talked a lot about the different cost centers that are relevant to you, relevant to others. The idea that where you first you could see the value of integrating all these systems that you use on a daily basis. You use the APIs to connect those systems that you can find certain issues and bottlenecks that you couldn't before, that one siloed system couldn't. And then with the integration that we have with both ProShop and MaintainX, we're starting to pull that together so you have an even more cohesive, more knowledgeable system that you can use with AI. What are some of the things that you're looking to do in the future at Pindell and some MachineMetrics?
Yeah, I mean, our vision is, pushing intelligence to the point of decision, whether it is a decision a supervisor, a scheduling lead needs to make, or whether it's a decision that a machinist needs to make, or a maintenance technician. And how do you, give those individuals the perspective, the awareness, the data and information to make the right decision, whether it is, a maintenance technician who's, asked to go to a machine that has some type of failure. How, right at that machine, do we leverage all the insights that MachineMetrics provides to inform that maintenance technician of the full recent history of that machine and what's going on in the past that might be archived in MaintainX? But what are those recent fault codes? What are the emergency codes? Things along those lines, and that opportunity for even better questions. How do we allow the supervisors to do data-informed, intelligent decision-making around the schedule, working around the friction that comes with, any type of an operation, scheduling issues, people being out, machines being down, things along those lines. And then, one of the ultimate goals is how do you give that intelligence to the machinists themselves and allow them to be creating more value because they are more informed about the particulars of what's going on with the production of that part.
And I know, Bill, that we built I guess we'll call it the early days of Carbide, but we built a system for your machinists that does provide some predictive insight in when they need to inspect parts, when they need to change tools. I see that what you're saying, though, is that if you incorporate more data around maintenance, right, more data around your operations and your scheduling, and we're doing that with the MES implementation, that the level of insight that can be surfaced to the machinists, right, to the schedulers, really elevates. And I think the key problem that needs to be solved, or I say the infrastructure that needs to be laid, really is the association of all of this data and the understanding of the flow of work. And for anybody that's like looking at like any kind of manufacturing operations system, MES, like having that be modeled to your business is like the critical component that then you can leverage all of these tools, these great tools, AI, LLMs, and then workflows and user experiences that can either be built or is provided out of the box. And that's really what we're building at MachineMetrics is that infrastructure for AI to reason over, right? That allows you to connect your machines easily, quickly, to execute that work, optimize. What we talked about, like showing prescriptive alerts to operators, machinists, right? That'll help optimize their work, and then continue to build these custom custom applications that are for your business. So that's an interesting conversation. I really enjoyed how hearing about your story, how you're leveraging MachineMetrics and the other tools, Max AI, to give you some interesting answers. But I do want to open this up.
The only maybe modification I'd make to your comments is, individuals can drown in data. I think the way we're leveraging MachineMetrics and will in the future, it's about how do you push to those individuals' intelligence and that synthesized data that is, whether it's artificially inspired intelligence or whether it's archived or in some way. But I think what we value MachineMetrics for is the production intelligence that it gives us.
Yep.
It's at a leadership level, gives us the supervisors, the maintenance team, and the machinists themselves. And that production intelligence, couldn't be more valuable as this digital thread through manufacturing continues to cinch.
Yeah, humans need intelligence, not data.
Right.
AI needs the data and the understanding of the data.
Yep.
But the end result for the human is the intelligence and the prescription. So I think it's spot on, Bill, and it's what we're continuing to build out at MachineMetrics. So great. Well, I would like to open this up to questions from the audience, and would love to hear what you like from either myself or from Bill. I can actually read some of the questions we have here right now. So,
you got it, Bill?
Actually, no. That's right, Erica. You're gonna read off these questions. So.
Yeah, I got it. Hello, everyone. I'm Erica. I've been hanging out backstage. Great conversation, guys. I know we also had Graham in the Q&A answering some of these questions that you can go and look at those replies, but I have a few more that I've figured I'll ask you guys live. The first being, why do you think executives consistently trust labor and overtime data the least? Is it because the data is inaccurate or because the work itself isn't being captured in enough detail?
You want to go, Bill?
Oh, no, I think that's probably more directed to you.
I actually that wasn't one of my top cost centers of consideration. I do think you want to have a system that identifies where that labor is being applied, where people's attention is being applied, and shares it among a single part number, single machine, or multiple machines. But I think when you don't have a mechanism to accurately record that, maybe it's paper based, maybe it's just mechanically burdensome to enter in. You got to go across the floor to log into a single floor shop floor PC, something like that, and people don't report it as much. The beauty of these MachineMetrics tablets is when that individual and that machinist arrives at the machine, it's two clicks to identify that they are working on that machine, and a button when they're done, and that gives us a lot more confidence in that labor data, and as we talked about the parts that get
and I could see just being here, like there's a lot of reconciliation that needs to occur, right, with inaccurate part counts and times. I think you're more concerned about parts here than time, but some customers also like time is really important to do the full job costing, right? And having that, it's so, especially unattended, for example, like unattended time is almost never accounted for. You don't really know how much time that machine ran, right? So those parts are often associated with first shift, right? When they're submitted. So they're really, often what we see, there isn't really good visibility into that without having an automated system like MachineMetrics.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Another one I have, it just came in. How much of your roadmap is moving from dashboards into triggering the downstream workflow? And what's the hardest part of that handoff?
So dashboards have become, I guess you can call it a commodity. It's pretty standard. We've certainly made it easy to build reports and dashboards, but you can now go into many tools like Claude and ask it to build you a dashboard or report. What we're really seeing is that it's having the being an execution layer means that where the work is happening is where you need to surface information that's not in a dashboard that you're glancing at. It's while you're doing that work, right? And then when you're doing that work, that's when you want to be shown information that's going to make you do that work better, more efficiently. That's the optimize, right? So when you're about to leave for the shift and that machine needs a tool change in 2 hours, you probably should change that tool so that machine can run unattended more. And that happens at the point of execution. So that's what MachineMetrics has become. Yes, we have the dashboards, we have the reporting. We can send that to the executives, and that's important for reporting to the board or what have you. But it's the execution that can actually get that work done faster and more efficiently, and that's what we're really focused on. And and AI really helps us get there and go there a lot deeper.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. All right, let me see what else has come in. All right, so we're getting started on MES, Bill. 6 months from now, what will you be watching to know that it actually stuck, not just installed? So
we have a few what we call value drivers that where you could see like where you're getting the benefit from MES. There's quite a few. So the ones that what you really see is on-time delivery and schedule attainment. That's been one of the biggest achievements that I've seen across our customers when they implement MES, because knowing when a machine is falling behind and being able to then reschedule has helped some of our customers improve their schedule attainment by 20, 30, 40, 50%. And that's just having that real-time visibility. So that's a big one. Another would be in quoting intelligence. So when you know what the part is in the work order that's tied to your standards, we talked about that here. You can do a more accurate job quoting and planning. The other is that you can feed the right data to your executives that have to do with meeting your plan or not, right? And also your machine performance. Am I utilizing the capacity in the way that I should? And there is that understanding if you're waiting for work or if the machine is just down for maintenance, right? So if you finish a work order and you're not starting another work order, you're waiting, right? Mm-hmm. That's that unless, if you don't have demand, maybe that's fine, but a lot of our customers, there's a lot of demand and those machines should be running. So you want to minimize how much time you're waiting for work, and knowing that work order is closed, which you can only get from the ERP, helps you report on that automatically. That's as a few things we can keep going, but there's quite a few benefits from having that plan connected with reality, and then you can report on both and then act in real time.
Yeah. This one's for Bill Bither. So which cost center has MachineMetrics helped you with the most? And if you were to start from like zero today, which one would you tackle first?
So first question, which one has helped us with the most? Mm-hmm. And it would clearly be that capacity utilization, and in a past world, the labor and overtime, because that, accurately, understanding who's working on the machine and what is the what is the production, that informs what's your level of utilization, where can you be, speeding things up. And we were really, from the beginning, we were very aggressive adopters of the downtime reason codes that, would surface, what are the reasons that the machine is not running. And, in some contexts, you might think that's like a big brother thing, but the reality is, if your reasons for the spindle not turning are lacking material or lacking tooling, let's dive into those processes and figure out, how can we get that material to the machine when it needs to be there? How can we order the tooling in advance? Things along those lines. And, basic stuff, but critical when you're possibly gapping spindle time. As we all know, you go back to Eli Goldrate's The Goal. Once you lose that spindle time, you're never getting it back. So how do you do what you need to be done to elevate the constraint, feed the constraint? And in that case, especially in the early days, that was that spindle time.
Yeah, awesome.
Hopefully helpful there.
Yeah, another one for you. How critical was it for a machine monitoring software to be integrated with your ERP system?
I'll be honest, in early days, we didn't think it would be that critical. We didn't realize it was as much of a pain point as it was. But it's been, especially some of the growth that we've seen in the past 2 years around more defense and aerospace work, that integration there of the MachineMetrics with the ERP, both bi-directional integration, is really starting to prove or has been proving its mettle and proving its importance, because that it is actual accurate data going both ways, which really couldn't be more valuable.
Yeah, awesome. I've got about 1 or 2 more questions for you guys. I know we're coming up on time. What did operator adoption actually look like when you started with MachineMetrics? How did you get people on board?
So going back to 2018, we positioned MachineMetrics as a resource for the machinists. Going back, especially around those downtime reason codes, that was an opportunity for the machinist to be able to say, look, the machine is not running because of XYZ. It is not me that's causing this to be gapped. And you're giving the machinist the opportunity to be the sentinels of pointing out where the problem is. It's another system to be aware of, to be looking at, but the biggest trick there is reinforcing the value and the importance as part of that implementation. You can't just sort of roll it out and be the leadership team leveraging those insights. It needs to in some way be servicing the machinist floor.
And I would also say that when you have one point of entry for your labor tracking, operators adopt it much easier than if it's like, okay, we just want you to be categorizing downtime, for example. So that MES means that there's one screen that they go to inform the system that they're there and that they're working, and what job that they're working on, and entering the scrap like that. That has really transformed our customers that are using that for entering labor into their ERP.
All right, last question. So is Carbide something we can plug into our own scheduling logic, or is it Pindell specific?
Bill, you want to take that?
So I was actually just looking at a different question here, and then I'll answer that. Okay. So this is from Randy here. He's asking if the least trusted numbers of manufacturing all originate from day-to-day operational activities, shouldn't our first priority be improving on how those activities are captured rather than simply improving how they're reported? 100% correct. Absolutely. You have to have accurate data. You need, that's part of making sure that the model is correct, right? So that the relationships are understood. So that's actually why we've implemented this in MachineMetrics as an MES, because the machine reports accurate data. It knows when it started, it knows when it stopped, it knows the machines it produced. And prior to that, there's a lot of guesswork happening and a lot of problems in scheduling. So that's actually the key point of why you would connect MachineMetrics to your ERP and roll out an MES. And I was so excited about that one. I forgot what the previous question was, Erica.
It's asking about Carbide, and you were talking about how Pindel's using it for their scheduling logic. Is that Pindel specific, or can other people use that same function?
Yeah, so Carbide is designed to be used by a customer to build their own application that ties into their systems. There is an ability for us to do something similar that can then be spread across accounts or like across different plants. So it depends on how it's deployed, but it could be both. But the initial I guess rollout of Carbide is really for a custom app for one customer.
Exciting stuff.
Definitely.
All right, that's all I have, and we're about at time. So thank you both so much. Any closing remarks?
No, I just want to thank Bill Bither for being a customer for so long and helping us on this webinar. It's great to hear his story, and it's a great example of a power user of our system.
Yep, and we thank you, Bill, and your team for the great partnership. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for attending. This recording will go out after the fact, and you can watch it on demand. Goodbye.